Good evening, my lovelies, and welcome. I'm Lady MCreepsta. This evening we have a very special story. The first part of a 4-part series by author Steven Aguilera. Steven wrote my Halloween special, The Devil's Grave. So if you enjoyed that tale, you will definitely want to stick around for this one. Before we dive in though, a quick shout out to my dark family on Patreon for your continuous support. Family members such as Danny White, Nicholas Corries, Dawn Fritzwater, Melissa Perez, Honey Santiago, Oliver Dace, Karen Parrott, L. Andrew Augustus, Dana Fringer, Steven Aguilera, Tay the Fluth, Bill Thornsley, Laura Setter-Penry, and all of those listed in the description below. If you too would like to support this channel and podcast like these beautiful ghouls, go to patreon.com/LadyMcCreepsta for more information. Now though, my dears, it is time. So come, lean in closer, and we'll begin. An inviting for sale or rent sign juts from the meticulously manicured yard of a charming little house. A smiling mailman waves to a good-looking couple jogging by. Birds chirp, squirrels play. A 6-year-old flings a pink frisbee to her giggling sister across the street. The real estate agent for the open house, a young Asian woman, leads an overjoyed pregnant woman and her husband outside. With a forced grin, the agent immediately directs their attention to the freshly planted roses when they are startled by the panicked screams of children. The little neighborhood girls gape with horror at the house across the street. Its front yard is riddled with gopher holes and overgrown with weeds. The windows are covered in aluminium foil from the inside. On its worn, loathsome welcome mat rests their shiny pink frisbee. The sisters scamper home crying. Above the mat, Archibald Boyle spies through a horizontal mail slot in his front door. The wife puts a hand over her unborn child and shakes her head. The husband gives the agent a betrayed look as they proceed to their minivan. Pudgy and middle-aged, Boyle bears a mangled scar from his forehead down his left eye. Wearing a sweatsuit with many holes and stains, he is pale with long matted hair and beard. The agent shoots an icy stare in his direction before stomping inside, shaking her head and mumbling profanities. Tires screech as the couple speeds away. A squeak from next door redirects his gaze. Patty, about his age, slams her mailbox with only junk mail in her hand. Mouth breathing, he gawks at her while mucus secretes freely from his nose. She glances to his porch with misgiving as he snaps his mail slot shut. Decades of unopened mail and disheveled clutter smother his doorway. He rises and lurches into his dark dwelling, taking deep, congested breaths. It wasn't always this way. Rolling back to a time when the entrance was clean and bright, a playful knocking beckons the pitter-patter of little feet. 7-year-old Boyle runs up and swings the door open for young Patty. He signals for her silence with a finger against his lips. A bit taller than him, she pinches his cheek while chuckling sadistically as he cringes and pouts. Smiling with adoration, she hands him a crudely wrapped present. He tears it open to find a green plastic slinky. Grabbing his wrist, she runs him into the family room to his resistance. A few birthday balloons and torn wrapping paper lay about the otherwise tidy home. A muted game show airs on a small black and white TV, resting over a doily on a tray table. On the plastic-covered sofa sits Boyle's plump grandma, who pretends she's not crying. His grandpa holds her hand while managing a weak smile. Boyle's father, an imposing figure standing with a horseshoe moustache, appears incensed. His muscular arms are covered in tattoos, including that of Christ being nailed to the cross and the Virgin Mary. An obvious ex-con. Patty grips Boyle protectively while moving through the tension-filled room. She barges them into the kitchen, opens the basement door, and tickles him through. Dusty steps lead to a cold, dark basement. He gazes down with apprehension. Jumping up, she yanks the cord to a hanging light bulb, jarring him. He shrinks from a moth fluttering to the light when she slams the door, jolting him again. Snatching his slinky, she holds it high near the bulb and laughs as he whines for it, reminding him to be quiet with an amused hush. Indistinct shouting halts their horseplay. Boyle shows embarrassment and sniffles. She returns a sympathetic look and switches off the light. The slinky glows a haunting green. He lets out a whistle. She tugs the backlight and launches the large plastic spring down the stairs. He crouches close beside. She senses this but does not mind. The floppy coil walks its way down only 3 steps before giving up. Little Boyle timidly reaches down to flip the toy back into action, extending himself precariously over the steps. It's obvious to her that the eerie basement unnerves him. Unable to resist, she stomps, "Boo!" He flinches and tumbles down. From the family room, the emotional grown-ups freeze at Patty's scream. Boyle's grandparents rush out. His father hesitates, then follows. What was then a sparsely furnished room is now, 40 years later, buried under heaps of belongings almost to the bubbled, water-damaged ceiling. Faded wallpaper of flowers peel from the deeply cracked walls. Abundant cobwebs drape. The only light is that spilling in from the entranceway. There is a banging at the back door. Leaning on a grimy cane, Boyle trudges through a trail carved from the clutter. He enters the fly-filled kitchen. Rotting garbage is strewn everywhere, squirming with rich insect life. Greasy corners are buried in moldy kitchenware. The stove supports countless burnt pots and pans. He peeks out the back door, then drags in 2 large boxes. From one, he pulls a can of SpaghettiOs and takes a gunky can opener to it. With a crusty spoon, he slops the cold food into his slobbery mouth until scraping and slurping its remaining sauce. Licking his fingers, he brings it to the sink. Viscous scum floats atop many unsalvageable dishes. Pipes moan and the clogged drain gurgles as he fills his can with murky water, then gulps. Refreshed, he raises it for another swig, but refrains when detecting a distant rumble. He bends back the window foil. Mounds of junk rust in the backyard, including classic cars, exercise equipment, and much landscaping machinery. Behind his house extends a vast cemetery. Beyond that, the endless wild expanse of the Appalachian Mountains. Returning to his beverage, a violent earthquake strikes, splashing water into his eyes as he belches, chokes, and spits. The refrigerator opens. He slaps it shut, but its long decomposing contents send him retching. A deep creak and powerful snap shudder through the house. The quaking mercifully subsides. Car alarms blare as Patty's dog barks deeply from her backyard next door. Boyle hobbles into the family room. Foil has dislodged from a window, flooding the room with light. He stares at the devastation. Doesn't look much different. He shrugs and kicks his way to the window to cover it back up, hopefully before anyone can see. There is a soft knocking at the front door. He sneaks into the entranceway and peers through the peephole. Patty wears a brown uniform with an apron and giant cap. He places a hand as close as possible to where she knocks. She appears dejected for a moment, but then crouches. He springs to his tiptoes just before the mail slot opens between his legs. Sweat beads on his face as the exertion grows unbearable. She squints at the home's appalling state and takes a sniff. With his strength giving out, gagging erupts beneath him. The slot finally closes and Boyle melts with relief as vomit splashes onto his driveway. He peeks out and winces. Patty flounders into her red Ford Fiesta and zooms away. He leans back against the door, red-faced. Beside him, he straightens a small impressionist picture of a delightful little cottage, which instantly swings crooked again. The idealized painting contrasts sharply with his home. When he does eventually die, if anybody, Patty will be the one to find him. In here, like this, with a look of resolve, he shuffles off. In the littered kitchen, he snatches an old roll of garbage sacks from beneath the sink. Flinging open the basement door with a full bag of refuse, he strides onto the landing but is clobbered by a foul stench. He jerks on the light. Countless bags of decomposing offal already fill the joyless basement. He looks to his kitchen with discouragement, then kicks the sack down, which spills open onto the stairs. A mild aftershock sends a creak through the foundation. That's a sound he's never heard before. Concerned, he descends the squeaky steps with his cane. Flies buzz endlessly in circles. Fermenting garbage juice squishes between his bare toes as rodents clamor in the trash. An inner foundation wall sustains a fresh 6-inch wide crack, no doubt from the earlier quake. Garbage slime and chunky sludge seep within. A cold draft emanates, reeking of literal death. Ascending a rickety chair, he unpeels the foil to a backyard-facing window. The cemetery lies just beyond his shoddy fence. Returning to the crack, muffled echoes carry forth. He shivers and returns upstairs. 2 p.m. Boyle enters the family room and stumbles onto a musty area rug. Tipsy, he sets a bottle of whiskey onto a tray table and nestles into the couch. The house shifts from the angry wind. Resting in an old china cabinet, his black and white TV with 10-inch screen and rabbit ears supplies the room's only light. Public Broadcasting Service presents a gloomy opera as he drifts into a nap. A gaudy crystal chandelier, partially caked in grime, hangs over the nearby dining table, scattering rays in eerie patterns. This image distorts into a gleaming, pristine light fixture from which his grandpa hangs by an orange extension cord. Backing away, 12-year-old Boyle topples backward over the area rug in their suffocating, overstuffed house. On the couch beside him, blood squirts from his grandma's twitching wrists. Jarred into consciousness, Boyle rubs the sleep from his eyes and the drool from his chin. He changes the channel to a soap opera. An older man inappropriately seduces a brunette employee in a short skirt. She vaguely resembles Patty. Soft music plays as her resisting body goes limp and she drops her stapler in ecstasy. Watching wistfully, he snaps out of it and changes the channel again. Grating music forces him to mute a slick infomercial. A seated woman gleefully tugs pulleys, which cause tires to bounce on both sides of some incomprehensible machine. Aroused, he munches from a half-empty bag of stale pork rinds. Now, a shirtless man with flawless physique pulls on the cables, bouncing tires which are much bigger. Boyle looks at his blubbery gut and stashes the fried pigskins, when from the kitchen comes a faint, dragging sound. The basement door creaks open. Confused, Boyle treads onto the landing and sniffs, snorting deeply. He gives pause and turns on the light. The basement is now entirely clear of waste. Astonished, he descends. The 6-inch wide crack now bears a crudely tunneled hole 2 feet across. Inside is cold, damp, and pitch black. With the lighter set to maximum, he extends it within. Twisted roots jut from the inner walls. A deep, primitive groan resonates. 2 amber, reflective eyes glare back at him as a shadowy creature lunges forward with a spine-chilling wail. Boyle recoils, scurries up the stairs, and slams the door. He rushes to a rotary phone hanging next to a calendar from 1988. Gripping the handset, he is seized by indecision as he takes in the surrounding mountains of rotting garbage, disarray, and general disgust. If he could just clear out the kitchen, he could let the police and zoo people in through the back door. But there's no place left to put anything. Defeated, he's then struck with inspiration and hangs up the phone. He slings 2 giant bags of garbage into the basement. Then 3 more. A cardboard box overflowing with trash is flung in next, some of its contents spilling out. Armful after armful of rubbish were heaved in with wild abandon for nearly 30 minutes. Panting, he shuts the door, leans back against it, and grins with hope. His smile diminishes. The magnitude of clutter before him still looks about the same. The pounding ache from his leg reminds him of his limitations. Behind him, something menacing growls. A bit of a cliffhanger there for you, my dears. Be sure to join me next time to find out what happens next. If you've just stumbled upon my realm, welcome, my lovely. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, and additionally, if you are watching on YouTube, hit that bell icon as well to be notified of new uploads. If you too have a story you would like to submit for consideration, send it to lady.mccreepsta@gmail.com. That is all the time we have this evening, my dears. Till next time, sweet dreams.